Pyramid, Expanded Novel Edition. By Approx. 6,000 words delivered in chapters. Chapter 1. The Shadow in the Badlands. The Badlands did not welcome visitors. For 3 days, Connor had moved through dunes blown smooth by relentless winds, following an old caravan trail that appeared and disappeared like a fading memory. His boots sank ankle-deep into red sand that hissed with every step. The sun drilled through the air like a molten spike. Not an insect, not a bird, not a single plant dared to survive here. It was the perfect place for legends to hide. Connor paused at the top of a tall dune and raised a spyglass. Only shimmering heat, unbroken horizon, and a layered mirage greeted him. He sighed, wiped sweat from his brow, and lowered the glass. 18th day, he muttered. Either this pyramid is real or I'm just chasing ghosts. He had chased stranger things before, ruined citadels swallowed by jungles, forgotten temples half-collapsed into ravines, mines riddled with abandoned machines whose builders vanished without a trace. But nothing he'd ever found carried the same weight as the stories of the Badlands Pyramid. Ancient beyond counting. Untouched by weather. And alive, some said. Connor had laughed the first time he heard the stories. He wasn't laughing anymore. A faint breeze stirred the sand. For a moment, Connor thought he saw something, a straight edge cutting through the waves of heat, too perfect to be natural. But when he blinked, it vanished. He pressed forward. The sun dipped behind a cluster of red cliffs. Shadows stretched. The wind died. The desert held its breath as Connor reached the base of the cliffs and slipped through a narrow cut between 2 sandstone walls. The world beyond did not belong to nature. It belonged to geometry. Connor froze, breath caught in his throat. A shape towered before him, triangular, symmetrical, impossibly massive. Even from this distance, even half buried in dusk, the structure radiated presence. It was real. The Badlands Pyramid. Connor lowered his pack gently, afraid any sound might break the illusion. Wind brushed across his ears. Sand clinked softly against the pyramid's surface. Then the last rays of sunset struck its face, and the sandstone blazed gold. Connor whispered, "I found it." The pyramid did not answer. Yet something in its silence felt watchful. Chapter 2. A Door That Opens Itself. The base of the pyramid stretched farther than Connor expected, at least 500 meters per side. The sandstone blocks fit with such precision he couldn't slip a fingernail between them. Each face aligned perfectly north, south, east, and west. The air vibrated faintly, like the hum of distant power lines. Connor reached out. Warm stone met his palm, not warm from sunlight, but warm from something deeper, something internal. The hum intensified. Then the entrance appeared. Not suddenly, but smoothly, silently, as if a hidden seam in the pyramid realized someone was present and slid away. Sand poured from the opening like water breaking through a dam. Connor stepped back instinctively. The doorframe was enormous, tall enough for a ravager to trot through without ducking. The darkness beyond the threshold seemed to swallow the last of the daylight. "Okay," he whispered. "That's not ominous at all." He drew a lantern from his pack, but before he could strike it, soft green lights blinked to life along the hallway inside. Connor froze. "I definitely didn't do that." The lights glowed in sequence deeper into the pyramid, forming a trail. Inviting him. Connor swallowed. "All right, you want me inside, I'll play along." He stepped through the door. The temperature dropped instantly, cool and dry like a subterranean library. The hum grew louder, then faded into a low thrum, steady, alive. The pyramid felt awake. And aware. Chapter 3. The Copper Children. The hallway widened into a vast chamber lit by gentle green glowstones embedded in the walls. Stacks of chests lined the room in perfect rows, hundreds, maybe thousands of them, forming aisles like a grand archive. Connor approached one and brushed dust away. Except there was no dust. Not a grain. A soft metallic chirp sounded behind him. Connor spun, heart leaping into his throat, and found himself staring into bright teal eyes set in a small copper body no taller than his knee. A copper golem. A tiny one. It tilted its head curiously. Connor raised both hands. "Hey there, I'm not here to break anything." The golem chirped twice more, then scurried past him to a stack of shulker boxes. With deft little hands, it reorganized them into a symmetrical arrangement, then patted the top box proudly. Connor blinked. "You tidy, fascinating." Another golem trundled around a corner. Then another. Soon half a dozen were scurrying about, each engaged in tasks, polishing copper but preventing oxidation, sorting items, maintaining lanterns, sweeping floors that never seemed dirty. "Who made you?" Connor whispered. None answered, but their presence was comforting in a strange way. The pyramid wasn't empty. It was tended. Chapter 4, The Growing Terraces. Connor explored deeper, guided by staircases that seemed to illuminate themselves when he approached. The second level opened into a lush terrace garden: wheat, carrots, potatoes, beetroot, berry bushes, even rare herbs he couldn't name. All perfectly grown. All perfectly watered. All perfectly harvested at the same height. A thin stream of water flowed from the ceiling into carved channels. Not a drop spilled over. No farmers tended the crops. No villagers lived here. Yet the gardens thrived. A bee buzzed lazily past Connor's face, drifting to a vibrant patch of daisies. Someone or something kept the hives in impeccable condition. "This place shouldn't exist," Connor murmured. And yet here it was, a megabase so perfect it bordered on divine. Chapter 5, The White Four. Heat washed over Connor as he entered the forge level. Blast furnaces lined the walls, roaring steadily without any fuel input. Lava cauldrons bubbled along channels feeding the central forge, a massive stone anvil suspended above a pit of white fire. White. Not orange. Not red. White-hot flame, hotter than any magma. Connor approached cautiously. Even standing meters away, he felt the heat prickling his skin. Tools lined the walls: flawless pickaxes, never-dulled swords, untouched armor. Each piece looked fresh from crafting but bore no maker's mark. Something had prepared all of this, and was expecting someone to use it. "I don't know if that's going to be me," Connor whispered. The forge hummed in reply, low, almost sympathetic. Chapter 6, The Heart of the Pyramid. The enchanting hall dazzled Connor's eyes. Crystals hung from the ceiling. Floating books circled an enormous multi-layered enchanting table. Pages turning in rhythm like chanting monks. Runes pulsed beneath Connor's feet. He didn't dare touch anything. Beyond the hall lay a spiraling staircase of emerald and tinted glass. It led down to a cavern-sized potion hall, brewing stands arranged in concentric rings, cauldrons bubbling, ingredients sorted by color and potency. The pyramid was not ancient. It was maintained. Immaculate. Waiting. For him. Connor reached the deepest chamber, a dome larger than any cathedral. Murals of stars and galaxies adorned the walls, and in the center stood a ring of stone, obsidian, and copper 15 blocks tall. The Stargate. Its surface rippled like water when Connor approached. A pedestal stood before it. On it lay a sandstone plate inscribed with glowing text. "To the builder who comes after. All is prepared. All is preserved. Step through when you are ready." The gate pulsed softly. Connor's heart pounded. Builder. Him. He stepped back. "Not yet," he whispered. "Not today." The gate dimmed, but not fully. Waiting. Always waiting. Starbook II, The Gate AWKNS. Expanded Novel Edition. Chapter 1, The Pulse Beneath the Pyramid. Night fell over the Badlands like a heavy stone. Connor camped at the base of the pyramid, a respectful distance from the entrance, partly because the idea of sleeping inside something alive unsettled him, and partly because he needed to think. His small fire crackled. The sky churned with stars. The pyramid towered above him, a black silhouette against the heavens. And yet, it glowed. Not bright, not obvious, but a faint pulse ran through the sandstone bricks, like a heartbeat of soft blue light that brushed across the faces in slow waves. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Alive. Connor lay back on his bedroll and stared at it. "Builder who comes after," he whispered. He didn't feel like any kind of builder. He was an explorer with a battered pack, scratched boots, and a talent for getting into trouble. Nothing more. Yet every time he closed his eyes, he saw the gate. That rippling surface. That impossible hum. That sense of invitation. Half asleep, Connor turned on his side, gazing at the pyramid's entrance. The faint green lights were still on inside, forming a path deeper into the interior. "Tomorrow," he murmured, "tomorrow I'll figure out what this all means." But sleep didn't come easily. Not with the gate whispering in his dreams. Not with the feeling, deep, instinctive, that something behind those ancient walls had begun to wake because he had found it. Chapter 2, The Shard's Call. At dawn, Connor re-entered the pyramid. The lights greeted him again, one by one flickering to life as he walked, guiding him down familiar corridors. The copper golems paused their cleaning and organizing, chirping greetings as he passed. Whatever force controlled them, whatever intelligence lay behind the pyramid, it recognized him. He made his way to the central chamber. The Stargate loomed above him, its surface dark and still like a waiting pond. The sandstone plate still sat on the pedestal, glowing faintly. Connor stepped closer. This time, the gate reacted instantly. A deep hum rolled through the chamber, slow at first, then building, expanding outward like a rising storm. The runes around the gate ignited in brilliant blue light. Connor stepped back. Whoa, okay, what did I do now? The hum intensified. The gate's inner ring began to rotate. Once. Twice. Stopping on a symbol Connor didn't recognize, something like a star with too many points. Then the second ring rotated. Then the third. Each locked into place, with a booming echo that shook dust from the ceiling. Blue energy crackled along the stone. Connor's heartbeat raced. The Stargate was dialing. He didn't know how he knew that word, dialing, but the shard of intuition clicked in his mind with perfect certainty. One final symbol aligned. The chamber fell silent. The world held its breath. Then, FWOM. A vortex of blue light blasted outward, slamming into an invisible wall just inches beyond the ring's inner edge. The energy recoiled inward, folding back into the circle until it resembled water pulled against gravity. The gate settled into a shimmering pool of rippling light. A portal. Open. Active. Waiting. Connor whispered. It worked, it really worked. Then he frowned. But I didn't do anything. Something else had done it. Something inside the pyramid. Or something inside him. A warmth bloomed in his chest. Connor tore open his shirt and stumbled backward. A crystalline shard, glowing faint blue, was embedded just beneath his skin. Not visible before, not felt, but now illuminated by the gate's power. Connor's breath caught. What are you?" The shard pulsed in response, syncing with the gate's glow. Then Connor felt it. A pull. Not physical deeper, a tug on his mind, on his instinct, on some primal part of him that whispered go. And the gate whispered back. Come. Chapter 3, Crossing the Event Horizon. Okay, easy, slow. Connor paced in front of the gate, the rippling light reflecting across his skin. It was mesmerizing, fluid motion held perfectly still, like a window made of water. The shard pulsed. Connor swallowed. I shouldn't go in, that's insane. That is extremely stupid. He took one step closer. Who knows what's on the other side? Could be a drop. Could be a burning world, could be nothing at all. Another step. The humming deepened. The shard glowed brighter, syncing with the runes in rhythmic pulses. His fingertips tingled. I should turn around. I should leave. I really should not. His foot crossed the threshold. The surface rippled like warm liquid silk. Then the gate swallowed him whole. Chapter 4, The Sky That Shouldn't Exist. Connor didn't fall. He drifted. A weightless sensation wrapped around him, cushioned by warm wind and glowing motes of light. The air smelled faintly of ozone and lavender. His heartbeat calmed even though nothing about the situation was calm. Then gravity returned. Connor dropped straight into a patch of soft, springy grass and rolled onto his back. Above him, clouds drifted lazily through a sky that seemed too close, too bright, too big. He sat up and froze. He wasn't on land. He was on an island, floating effortlessly in the open sky. Thin waterfalls poured off its edges in glowing streams that fell for miles before turning into mist. Dozens of other islands hovered nearby, connected by ancient stone bridges and massive chains. Windmills spun without touching the ground. Towers of gleaming marble twisted upward into the sky. And soaring between the islands were creatures Connor had only seen in myths. Sky serpents, dragons made of air and fractured crystal, their bodies weaving through the clouds like dancers. Connor whispered, "This isn't possible." A shadow swept over him. He turned and found 3 robed figures standing behind him, cloaks fluttering in the wind. Their eyes glowed silver. The tallest stepped forward. "You carry the builder's key," the figure said. Connor stiffened. "The what?" The figure pointed to Connor's chest. "The shard inside you. Only one chosen by the builders could activate the gate. Only a builder's heir could arrive in this realm unscathed." Connor blinked hard, overwhelmed. "Hold on, heir. I'm not an heir. I'm not a builder. I'm just..." The figure smiled gently. "You survived the crossing. The shard answered your call, and the gate awakened for you." They bowed. "Welcome, traveler. You stand in the realm of the Sky Forge." Connor stared at them in utter disbelief. The shard pulsed again, warm, certain knowing. And for the first time, Connor felt something he couldn't deny. He belonged here. Chapter 5, Elder Vales. The robed figures guided Connor across the floating meadow toward a stone bridge that arched gracefully into the sky. Wind tugged at his clothes as they stepped above open air, but the bridge felt as solid as bedrock beneath his boots. Far below, a sea of clouds churned like a storm waiting to be born. Connor kept his gaze ahead. "So, you're not going to explain what a builder's key is?" The tallest figure chuckled. "All things in their time. You must meet Elder Vales first." "And who is that?" "The one who will decide whether you are friend or threat." Connor swallowed. "No pressure, huh?" They reached a large platform carved directly from the floating island's rock. At its center stood a marble pavilion ringed with wind chimes that hung in perfect symmetry. A figure sat cross-legged in its center, back straight, long silver hair caught in the wind. When the escorts approached, the figure opened their eyes. Connor felt as if a storm looked through him. Elder Vales rose, their movements fluid, each step a measured piece of choreography. They wore robes woven from shimmering threads that shifted from white to blue to pale gold depending on the light. "You bring a key," Vales said, their voice soft yet resonant. The escort bowed. He arrived through the gate. The shard within him responded to the realm. Vales studied Connor in silence. "Do you know what you carry?" they finally asked. Connor inhaled slowly. "No, I found a pyramid and the gate, and then somehow this thing appeared in my chest. I didn't ask for any of this." Vales stepped closer. The shard pulsed through Connor's shirt, glowing faintly. Vales nodded as if confirming a long-suspected truth. "Your arrival was foretold." Connor blinked. "By who? The builders?" "By the realms themselves," Vales replied. "For thousands of years the gates lay dormant, the shards slept, The worlds drifted apart, but now the tide is changing. Connor rubbed his temples. I don't understand. You will, Vayli said. Come, there is someone you must see. Chapter 6, The Heart of the Sky 4. The pavilion opened into a network of sky bridges, leading toward a structure unlike anything Connor had ever seen. A forge suspended between two floating islands, held aloft by chains thicker than tree trunks. Massive windmills powered an intricate network of gears and pulleys. A central anvil floated above a glowing pool of liquid light. Hammer strokes echoed faintly as unseen mechanisms shaped metal and magic alike. Connor slowed as they approached. This is incredible. Vayli's nodded. The Sky Forge is one of the last builder forges still functioning. It draws power from the skis themselves, from storms, wind, and the arc of the sun. Connor followed Vayli's inside. The interior glowed with cyan light. Arrays of floating tools moved on their own. Molten silver streamed through channels carved into the floor, filling molds with quiet precision. Every surface hummed with potential energy. Vayli's gestured toward the floating anvil. Look. Connor stepped close. The shard in his chest responded instantly, warming, pulsing, resonating. The anvil glowed in reply. Vayli's inhaled sharply. As I feared, the forge recognizes you. Why is that bad? Because the forge only responds to builders, or to those fated to finish what the builders began. Connor stepped back. Look, I'm not some chosen prophecy guy. I'm not a hero, I'm just... The shard pulsed sharply, interrupting him. A beam of pale blue light shot from his chest to the anvil. The entire forge vibrated. Windmills accelerated. Gears spun faster. Lightning crackled across the chains, holding the forge aloft. Vayli's extended their arms, eyes widening. The forge is awakening. Connor stumbled. Wait, awakening what? A shape materialized above the anvil. Something fractured and glowing. Something alive. Vayli's whispered one word, filled with dread. The storm engine. Chapter 7, The Broken World. The storm engine orbited above the anvil, slowly rotating like a heart of shattered glass. Tiny lightning arcs danced across its jagged surfaces. Its core pulsed irregularly, sometimes bright, sometimes dim. Vayli stepped forward cautiously. This engine stabilizes the storms around our realm. Without it, the islands fall. The skis collapse. The very air becomes hostile. Connor's pulse quickened, and it looks broken. It has been faltering for years, Vayli said. But this, I have never seen it react to a traveler before. The shard inside Connor's chest glowed intensely. The storm engine responded. A beam of cyan energy connected the two, warping the air. Connor gasped. Okay, whatever's happening, can we stop it? Vayli's shook their heads slowly. This cannot be stopped, only guided. The storm engine vibrated violently. Crack. A fracture spread across its surface, spilling white-blue sparks into the air. The floating islands outside rumbled. Clouds below churned with new, violent winds. Vayli's gripped Connor's shoulders tightly. You must stabilize it. Connor stared at them in disbelief. I have no idea how. The shard knows, Vayli's insisted. It guides you, trust it. Connor clenched his fists, trembling. The shard responded, sending warmth through his chest and into his limbs. He stepped toward the storm engine. The wind roared. Sparks stung his skin. Lightning snapped against the invisible barrier protecting him. Connor exhaled slowly. Okay, shard, if you're listening, I really hope you know what you're doing. He reached out. The shard pulsed, and Connor touched the engine. Chapter 8, The First Synchronization. The world vanished in a burst of white-blue light. Connor felt himself suspended in an infinite space, weightless, bodiless, drifting in a sea of energy. Storm clouds formed around him. Lightning spiraled like strands of DNA. Voices whispered from every direction, layered and overlapping. Not words. Memories. Ancient memories. Builders shaping worlds from raw sky. Nations built on floating isles. Storm engines powering entire civilizations. Connor gasped. He wasn't seeing visions. He was seeing history. The shard was showing him what the Sky Forge once looked like, what the storm engine was before corruption reached it. A steady voice, neither male nor female, echoed through the light. Stabilization protocol initiated. Connor tried to speak, but his voice echoed across the storm like a stranger's. How do I fix it? Tell me what to do. The light pulsed in reply. Synchronize. Suddenly, the shard inside Connor burst with blinding energy. Light poured out of his chest, mapping itself onto the storm engine like a blueprint. Connor felt something click. His heartbeat synced with the engine's pulse. The engine synced with the shard. The shard synced with the forge. 3 rhythms became one. The light intensified, and everything snapped back into reality. Connor collapsed to the floor of the forge, gasping, chest burning. The storm engine hovered above him, perfectly stabilized. Its once fractured core now glowed with steady cyan light. Vales knelt beside him, awe etched across their face. You did it, they whispered. You actually did it. Connor coughed weakly. Didn't feel like I did anything. You synchronized with it, Vales said. No builder in recorded history ever mastered the engines on their first attempt. Connor groaned and pushed himself upright. The shard pulsed softly, like approval. Vales touched Connor's shoulder gently. The shard chose you for a reason. Connor closed his eyes. A reason he still didn't understand. But before he could ask another question, the air behind him rippled. And the Stargate appeared out of thin air, fully active, humming with power. Vales stepped back in shock. The gate, it's calling for you again. Connor stared at the swirling blue vortex. What already? I just got here. The shard pulsed. Vales bowed their head. Your journey has only begun, Connor of the Builder's Key. Connor took a shaky breath. Great, just what I needed. He stepped toward the gate and disappeared into the light. Chapter 9, The Desert Calls Again. Connor hit the ground hard. Sand exploded around him as he rolled across the desert floor, coughing and shielding his face from the sun. The sky was a burning sheet of blue. Heat shimmered off endless dunes. The Stargate snapped closed behind him. Connor groaned. I swear that thing hates me. He pushed himself up, brushing sand off his arms. The desert felt heavier than he remembered, drier, hotter. Even the wind carried a sharp sting. He squinted toward the horizon. The pyramid was gone. Or rather, the outline of the pyramid had changed. The once solid structure now appeared cracked, its sides fractured by deep glowing fissures. Cyan light pulsed between the cracks like embers inside a dying fire. Connor's stomach tightened. What happened to you? A familiar voice echoed in his mind, the shard, wordless but urgent. Danger. Disruption. Corruption. Connor clenched his fists. Great, more problems. He slid down the dune and approached the pyramid cautiously. The air around it hummed with unstable energy. His shard pulsed in recognition and warning. As he reached the base, sand shifted behind him. Connor turned sharply. A figure stood across the dune ridge, silhouetted by the sun. Their cloak whipped violently in the wind. Their face was hidden by a hood, and in their hand, a shard. Not blue like Connor. Red. Burning. Throbbing like a predator's heartbeat. The figure spoke, their voice distorted like overlapping echoes. Builder's Key, you should not have returned. Connor's pulse spiked. Who are you? The figure stepped closer, boots sinking into the sand with soft, deliberate crunches. I am a collector. They lifted the red shard, which crackled with malicious energy. And you carry something that belongs to us. Chapter 10, Clash of the Shards. The collector moved first. A bolt of crimson energy erupted from their shard, snapping across the sand straight toward Connor. He dove sideways, rolling behind a half-buried stone column. The blast struck it, vaporizing it into dust. "Okay," Connor muttered, "that's new." The shard inside his chest pulsed with a sharp, painful jolt. Defend. React. Counter. Connor peeked around the ruined stone and yelled, "Hey, I don't even know what this key thing does. Could you maybe explain before trying to kill me?" The collector raised a hand. Sand rose like a wave around them. "It is not my purpose to teach you, only to retrieve what you should not possess." They swung their arm. The sand wave surged forward. Connor ran. The rolling dune crashed behind him like an avalanche. The shard burned against his ribs, urging him left, no, right, then forward. Connor stumbled, thrown off balance. A second blast hit the ground behind him, exploding sand upward. Connor skidded to a stop. Enough. The shard pulsed. His hand lifted without conscious thought. A burst of cyan light shot from his palm. The desert fell silent. The cyan beam met the collector's crimson blast midair. The two energies collided, snarling and twisting, crackling violently like two storms crashing together. Connor dug his heels into the sand, struggling to keep the beam steady. The collector gritted their teeth, pouring more power into their strike. Crimson lightning arced across the sky. Connor shouted over the roar. "What do you want from me?" The collector's hood fell back, revealing eyes burned black with red veins. "Everything. The shards belong to the corrupted." Connor's breath caught. "The what?" The collector pushed harder. Connor stumbled as his beam began to waver. The shard within him flared with blinding light. "Stabilize. Focus. Remember the forge." Connor exhaled and planted his feet. The cyan beam surged forward, swallowing the crimson energy whole. The shockwave launched the collector backward, sending them tumbling across the sand until they slid to a halt near one of the pyramid's cracked walls. Breathing hard, Connor staggered forward. But as he approached, the collector vanished into a vortex of red smoke, leaving behind a single echo. "This world will fall, and you with it." The smoke dissipated. Connor collapsed to his knees. What is happening to me? Chapter 11, The Pyramid's Heart. When Connor finally stood again, he faced the fractured pyramid. Cyan light pulsed more rapidly through its fissures, as if reacting to the recent battle. The shard tugged him forward. Connor placed a hand against the cracked stone. A low hum vibrated through his bones. The crack widened, splitting open just enough for him to slip inside. The interior of the pyramid was unrecognizable from before. Where once there had been ancient sandstone corridors and dust-filled chambers. Now there were glowing circuits etched into the walls, like veins of light. Floating fragments of stone spun slowly in the air. Connor stepped deeper. The pyramid was alive. And dying. The deeper he went, the more violent the tremors became. Walls flickered like failing holograms. Energy streams sputtered and dimmed. The shard spoke to him again, not in words, but in pressure, in instinct. The core. Find the core. Fix the core. Connor descended a spiral staircase that wasn't really a staircase at all. More a swirling gravitational distortion he simply walked downward through, guided by blue-lit pathways. Finally, he reached the center chamber. A massive crystalline heart floated above a broken pedestal. Cracks webbed across its surface. Dark tendrils like smoke, but solid, crawled from the fractures, spreading through the room. Connor shivered. This was corruption. The same corruption that twisted the collector's eyes. He stepped closer. "How do I fix you?" The shard in his chest pulsed. He lifted his hand. The core responded, rotating slowly, glowing brighter. Energy surged between Connor's shard and the core, forming a bridge of cyan and white light. Connor felt his feet leave the ground as he was lifted upward, suspended in the beam. The core pulled memories from him. The sky forge. The storm engine. The synchronization. Connor gritted his teeth as energy burned through him. Come on, just hold together. A sharp crack split the air. The core shattered into 3 large fragments that circled Connor like moons. Each fragment glowed faintly, damaged, but salvageable. The pyramid groaned, ceiling stones crumbled, light flickered. The shard pulsed again, urgent this time. Run! Connor grabbed the fragments and sprinted for the exit just as the chamber collapsed behind him. He burst into the sunlight seconds before the entire side of the pyramid caved inward. Sand blew outward in a massive plume. Connor dropped to his knees, coughing, clutching the core fragments to his chest. Great, now what? The shard's response was unmistakable. A new gate is opening. Your journey continues. Take the fragments. Find the next forge. Connor stared at the shimmering air forming beside the ruined pyramid. Another Stargate. Active. Waiting. Seriously, Connor said breathlessly, I need a vacation. But he stepped forward anyway. Because he knew he didn't really have a choice. He vanished into the light. Chapter 12, Toward the Unknown. Connor stumbled out of the Stargate onto cold stone. Night surrounded him. He stood on a massive circular platform carved into a cliffside. Snowflakes drifted through the air. Mountains loomed in every direction, their peaks glowing under moonlight. Behind him, the gate closed. The shard pulsed softly. 3 core fragments floated upward from his hands, orbiting him with gentle hums. Connor whispered, Where are we? A deep horn echoed across the mountains, followed by torchlight. Figures emerged from the shadows, armored in silver and dark steel, carrying weapons of strange shapes. Their leader stepped forward, helmet reflecting the moon. He removed it. A scarred, stern face stared at Connor. Traveler, the man said, you bear the shards of the broken core. Connor's grip tightened. I don't want any trouble. The soldier lifted a gauntleted hand. We are the Frost Guard, protectors of the Northern Forge. He knelt. To Connor's shock, all the soldiers behind him did the same. You are the one foretold, the leader said. The restorer of engines, the one who walks between gates. Connor opened his mouth. Closed it. Took a breath. Okay, he said shakily. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what's going on. The leader smiled faintly. Then you will learn. Come, the Northern Forge will awaken at your arrival. Connor exhaled. A second forge. A new realm. More corruption to fight. More mysteries to unravel. He took a step forward. The shard pulsed warmly. His new journey had begun.